brought to you by Smart, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Paul Lopez.
And I am Asana Ketano. Good morning.
And thank you for joining us this morning for making Open Your Eyes the morning show of choice on this wonderful Wednesday morning. We do hope that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you're just waking up, having a cup of coffee, that you're having a blessed morning and that you're looking forward to an excellent day. Sunny?
Good morning, my brother.
Yes, so we're going to jump right into our conversations for this morning because there's quite a bit to talk about, and I know that viewers are had their ears glued to their devices and televisions and radio yesterday to hear, so this is our What's Buzzing segment, to hear the Prime Minister's State of the Nation address.
Yes.
Right? And a lot came out of that address, and one of the most salient points, if you would, or one of the most interesting revelations that came out of this address was the amendment that they're making to the income tax threshold. So the income tax threshold stood at $26,000 the last I checked on the website, the income tax website, the Belize Tax Service website. Now the Prime Minister yesterday announced that the income tax threshold is going up by $3,000. So we're talking from $26,000 to $29,000. What does that mean? Well, that means that at least 2,800 Belizeans, working Belizeans, will no longer have to pay income tax because they're not making as much as $29,000 a year, and so they no longer fall within that tax bracket. It's perhaps the only biggest revelation from my perspective coming out of the Prime Minister's State of the Nation address. I don't know what's your thoughts on that point specifically, first and foremost.
I'll share my overall thoughts first,
okay,
and then we could
Go
get
ahead.
into the smaller bits of it. So without being too critical of the Prime Minister's address on Tuesday, for me, as someone who sat and watched the presentation in its entirety and listened keenly to what was being shared with the Belizean citizenry, the public, I think it was anticlimactic.
Okay.
That's my description of it. Perhaps I expected more and did not necessarily get what I would have wanted out of it. It's not to say that it wasn't without its flourish and details. I'm simply saying that for me, perhaps I wanted more. And by saying that I wanted more, I wasn't even looking at the idea of an announcement for an election, because that's what some people would have alluded to when they say they would have wanted more out of it, but not for me. I'm simply saying that I think floral language and throwing around figures have become par for the course for these kinds of addresses. And for the everyman, we need more, right? The average person doesn't want to hear the beautiful language of an economic renaissance and all of these things. I think we need to cut to the point and present in a straightforward and direct manner in which we can understand and fully interpret the gravity of what is being shared. That's just my personal, humble opinion. To what you were saying regarding the income tax and the new regime being introduced. So it'll be just about 3,500 working Belizeans who will benefit from this. And so, in the immediate wake of this announcement, there was chatter on social media and other people who are weighing in with their own opinion as to what's going to happen next, who's going to absorb whatever
loss,
shortfall or what have you. So that was one of the primary concerns that came up. Secondly, in terms of the brief conversations that I had with other people immediately after that was made public, was okay, but 3,500 men and women who are working versus the entire labor force is a small drop
marginal
in the bucket. Right? So that was the other point that was being made. So while yes, we don't necessarily know who these quote-unquote beneficiaries will be, we know that it comes up to about 3,500 people.
I just want to stick a pin there because I realized that immediately, the small number. And so it's one of the questions I posed to the Prime Minister. I didn't include the question in the news item last night, but that's when he responded by saying, ultimately, we want to get rid of the PAYE system altogether. That's income tax. A lofty goal, of course, right? But he says that's the ultimate goal. And I couldn't help afterwards but think or try to process who these 3,500 people are. Now, I said 2,800 earlier because the income tax reform, the change, it affects 2,800 people directly in terms of increasing the threshold. And then there's an anomalous change made to an anomaly whereby, sometimes you end up getting a little raise and then it puts you into another tax bracket. And then, so that affects some 733.
So the exact figures are 2,584.
Correct.
And 733 on the other hand.
Right. So I've been thinking to myself, all right, so who are there 3,000 people? And I asked my wife, are you one of them? And she said no. She said that they've been having discussions as well, and she's like, most of them are saying, no, I'm not that one, I'm not that one. So it's a question like who these 3,000, and I'm sure they're very appreciative of it. To the point you made at the start though, about wanting more, I agree and I disagree. I disagree to the extent that I believe this speech touched on all the important sectors. It touched on the economy, it touched on sports, it touched on health, it touched on education, it touched on security, right? National security, it touched on all these topics. Could there have been more said about each one of them? I am certain more could have been said about each one of them, but largely the Prime Minister summarized the work that his administration has put into each one of these sectors, and then made, of course, this big revelation, and then another revelation in sports as well. So that's my view on it. I think he touched on all the important sectors where development is concerned.
Perhaps your use of the word touched is appropriate, considering the fact that in its entirety, the presentation was a little over 20 minutes.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. To me, it left a lot to be desired. Right? There was more, in my opinion, that could have been spoken or said about the economy in terms of agriculture and all of these other sectors. There is more that could have been said about citizen security.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So there's a lot more than 20 minutes worth of information, so to speak, where he could have, because of the fact that they did away with the two speeches on Independence Day, which would have given him more time to be able to flesh out certain areas of the report. All right? So that's just, again, my opinion. I think more could have been done to share with the Belizean populace, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with you. A lot of, speaking on agriculture, there were some mentions of farmers and the benefits that farmers are seeing, but it's by
fleeting.
the way.
Yeah, it's fleeting.
Yeah, it's by the way. Farmers have been seeing these benefits. Did you see what's happening with education? And by the way, citizen security, and we've invested so much millions in citizen security. today the leader of the opposition gets to respond.
Yes.
And again, for those who may not be aware, traditionally these speeches are given on Independence Day,
Yes.
right? But we understand, based on the Prime Minister's explanation, why these State of the Nation and response are being given in the manner it is this year, because it's very distasteful. And a lot of Belizeans complain about it, that on Independence Day there is this political mudslinging, as you would refer to it, where the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, whether it's Moses Shine Barrow or it's another leader of the opposition, just basically blast the current administration in front of the Belizean friends, invited guests, etc.
I think, and I'll perhaps conclude this part of the what's buzzing with that. When you look at both presentations, we've unofficially dubbed it the tale of two economies, where the ruling party will say that everything is peaches and cream, and to a large extent that is reflected in the Prime Minister's address yesterday, that historically Belize is doing better than it has been in 4 years or however long. And so a beautiful picture is painted on one hand. On the other hand, from the opposition side, it's always doom and gloom, that this is the worst we've been and all these other things. And I think it's by and large incumbent upon us to be able to sift through either of the two scenarios to properly understand where we are as a nation and where we are as individuals within the larger Belizean society.
Indeed, indeed. I mean, it's a topic we could spend a lot more time on, I am sure, because of all the topics that he addressed, or the issues that he addressed in the speech. But we'll wait for the leader of the opposition to give his response today, and hopefully we could continue this conversation throughout the rest of the week. But Isani, we're going to switch things over from current political, from local politics to some international news. And we're talking about Diddy. We've been covering the development where his alleged crimes are concerned from back in March when the FBI raided his home. And earlier this week, news surfaced of his arrest. FBI basically detained him. Talk a bit about that.
Well, so this has been making the headlines everywhere for the past 2 days since Mr. Combs was taken into custody in New York, right? So initially, his legal team wanted to post bond in the sum of $50 million, and that was declined, considering the fact that they would deem him a flight risk. They wouldn't want him to interfere with any of the victims or what have you, and several other reasons why they chose not to offer bail. So that's on one end. But there were a lot of other interesting pieces of information that came out of this entire scenario. I think one of the sticking points, I can't get over it, is 1,000 bottles of lube.
Baby oil lubricants.
That is wild. Aside from the firearms, because we already know Americans love their guns, right? So there were a bunch of AR-15s, drum kits, and all of these other, weapons and attachments found at his mansions in Florida and in California. But when you think of, the commercial or the industrial size shipment of lubricants and oils for these quote-unquote freak offs, it's interesting, bro. But here's the thing, right? It also comes on the heels of the latest claim that has been brought against him by a former member of one of his groups, right? The young lady's name is Dawn Richards, right? She was a part of the group Dirty Money, which is under the whole bad boy umbrella, right? And so she is the latest to come forward with a claim against Diddy, and her bandmate essentially came forward and said, well, I am not aware of any of the claims you're making because, well, the three of us, Kelani, Don Richards, and Diddy formed Dirty Money. And she's saying that she never saw or experienced or heard of any of the claims that were brought by Don Richards. So essentially, to an extent, she was refuting what was being said. So I'm saying that it comes on the heels of this latest claim where he has been arrested and he's being held without bond.
Yeah, all I'm saying is this is some wild revelation because when that raid took place earlier this year, nobody really knew.
Because the FBI kept the evidence close to the chest,
Yes, correct, of course, as they would, as they continue their investigation and wait for the right moment to pounce. And so nobody knew that they also found tapes and recordings of some of these freak-offs, if you would.
Where there were threats being levied by, allegedly being levied by Mr. Combs for other persons who were there to participate in these acts during the freak-offs.
Yeah, and so for somebody with such international influence, this is one of the reasons, not only why we're talking about it, but why even Belizeans have their eyes on this one. This man is very influential. He's an icon in the hip-hop world. I grew up in the music on a whole. I grew up listening and watching him, and so certainly as we kept our eyes glued on the R. Kelly case, I think similarly we'll be watching this one to see how this pan out.
So a lot of money is being lost from his end.
Yeah.
When you look at him having to dump his properties, him having to pay legal fees. If you look at the whole the contract that was cancelled with Diageo, I believe it was. All of these things, it's a lot of money being lost on his end.
Just tells me that he has a lot of money. If he's willing to put up a bail for $50 million, one of his properties valued at $48 million, and he's willing to put that as a part of the bail, I mean, that's a lot of money. But Isani will
reputation is shot, though.
I mean,
that's safe to say.
Who wants to work with him after this, right? So perhaps it's a life lesson as well for all of us in terms of how we carry on in our business.
Speaking of life lessons, he's facing somewhere between 15. He's facing between 15 to 15 years to life should he be convicted. Yeah.
All right. So Isani, as we move on this morning, I understand that you've been working along with a group on a documentary.
Okay, so yes, right?
Let's talk about it.
So a few weeks ago, the Belize Defense Force had approached and asked for us to assist them with documenting the history of the BDF in terms of its transition from the British Honduras Volunteer Guards to the Belize Volunteer Guards, and then to the Belize Defense Force as we know it today. And so I had the privilege of speaking with some of these retirees who were able to give a detailed account of their time serving in the military and what it means for them and in the broader context of nation building, right? These are a proud band of brothers who have invested their life's work into protecting the Belizean citizenry from a national security point of view. But it's more than just that. It's what it stands for them in terms of developing them personally and professionally. And so I was able to sit with a number of retirees who were able to share that with us. So I would want for us to be able to transition to that documentary at this point.
Excellent.
Serving one's country as a soldier is a profound and multifaceted experience. It is also a way to express love and loyalty by pledging to uphold the values and principles that the nation stands for. Before the Belize Defense Force became the military and assumed the responsibility of protecting the country's sovereignty, there was the Belize Volunteer Guard. The BVG, as it is otherwise known, was also preceded by the British Honduras Volunteer Guard. Enlisted in the early 60s was Bernard Adolphus.
I have to thank the British for helping us and grooming us, because if we were not groomed, we could not have been successful in the Belize Defense Force.
The British Honduras Volunteer Guard was an iteration of the military force that changed names as many as 10 times between 1817 and 1978. Adolphus joined the army in 1963, a decade before the British Honduras Volunteer Guard was disbanded and gave rise to what would become the Belize Volunteer Guard. The discipline, skills, and experiences gained in service led to significant personal development and growth.
The Belize Volunteer Guards and the British Honduras Volunteer Guards, they help young people. Discipline, because all of those, I could attest to it, all those young men that was under the administration of the Volunteer Guards and the British Honduras never did go into jail, and I could test because I was once a superintendent of prison. So those men who were there before us, they were disciplined, and they groom us, and they help us.
Knowing that Adolphus was part of something bigger than himself and contributing to national security is incredibly fulfilling. Along with him in the Belize Volunteer Guard was Brindle Munnings. Service, for him, meant fostering a sense of unity and solidarity among Belizeans. It brought the people together.
We owe our training and our allegiance to the British forces. I could always say that. When we used to go to our parade drill evenings, we were trained by the British forces. A friend of mine who was a general in the BDF had asked me once, what I believe is the difference between the Belize Volunteer Guard and the Belize Defense Force. And for me, it was no question, 2 words, love and discipline. We joined the Belize Volunteer Guard because we loved it. We was proud, we felt pride.
That sense of honor comes with playing a crucial role in safeguarding Belize from external threats and ensuring the safety and security of its citizens. It is a significant commitment, a responsibility that is motivating and humbling. It is instilled in every soldier who served this country, even those who play in the BDF band.
I had a brother who served in the Volunteer Guard band, and so I wanted to be a part of that organization, and I went in there and I spoke to a then major named Major Lewis, who told me I was too young and need to come back. And when I did come back, it was so amazing because here I was learning music, and guess what? They were giving me a stipend to learn music. And so I held on to that. I got my musical education through the Belize Defense Force.
Former Councillor Albert Vaughan is also a retired soldier. For a decade and a half, he served as conductor of the band. The Belize Defense Force Band adds dignity and tradition to military ceremonies, such as state arrivals, funerals, and change of command events. The presence of the band enhances the seriousness and importance of these occasions.
Majority of my capacity I serve as the bandmaster in the Belize Defense Force band, which was an all-volunteer band. I was the only full-time member. That's what I do, and from there I left. I think I served 15 years in the Belize Defense Force band, and then I went on to become the volunteer sergeant major, then the group sergeant major, then the regimental sergeant major, and then I was commissioned during my term as a sergeant major. I also did all that was required.
Following his departure, Vaughan was later succeeded by Staff Sergeant Trevor Major as bandmaster. He helps to preserve the history and traditions of the armed forces through music. There's a wealth of knowledge to be shared about the BDF band, and Major is well versed in its past.
It all started in 1947 when the Drummer Bull Corps started in Mount Pleasant Creek. that's in the Cayo district, right? In 1952, the brass section and woodwind was added to the drum and bugle corps, hence forming the Volunteer Guards Band, which was under the civilian bandmaster.
Military bands often perform in public, helping to foster a positive image of the military. They participate in parades, concerts, and other public events which can aid in recruitment efforts.
I was a primary school teacher before joining the BDF while I was in the Volunteer Guard. And I will always say to people, the military, for me, was the best thing. And I loved it. I joined the BDF in the 31st of January, 1978. And this was the second batch that went into the Belize Defense Force. And I had that privilege to go in then because there were members from the Belize Volunteer Guards or those from the Police Special Force that went in to the BDF. You know, at times I reminisce about military life, and there is a time tears come to my eyes because I enjoy what I was doing, and I think I could have done even more, but time didn't permit.
Rising in rank to eventually become the first native to command the Belize Defense Force, following his transition from the Volunteer Guards, is Brigadier General Alan Usher. His ascent is storied, and he's among the most decorated officers to come out of the military.
Well, my transition from the Volunteer Guard to the Belize Defense Force, I had just finished sixth form the previous year, and when they formed the BDF. But in 1973, when I was in third form, HJC, I joined the Volunteer Guard. The prompt for that is that I had two uncles that were also in the Volunteer Guard. My granddad was in the Volunteer Guard, and I had granduncles that were war veterans. And, so it was perhaps an order of progression for myself.
Holding fast to his ambition of someday leading the BDF, Usher diligently pursued his courses, climbing the rank until his dream eventually became a reality.
They sent me away to the UK to Staff College, which was another year, and another 6 months at the Royal Military College of Science. And then I came back and was appointed the first Belizean. I took over from the British commander, and I became the first Belizean to command the Belize Defense Force. And shortly after, the BDF was upsized, and the top rank was upgraded to that of a Brigadier General.
The bond between soldiers in the Belize Volunteer Guard is unique. The shared experiences, challenges, and triumphs create a strong sense of brotherhood. That camaraderie is a source of strength and support that is today the Belize Defense Force.
We are members one and all of the Volunteer Guards, brothers of the jolly rank and file. We draw a 252, and though we think it hard, we spend it in the canteen with a smile. We cannot all be officers and issue others wrong, but we can make a company the brightest one in town. So fill her up, my lads, and drink a hearty toast. The Volunteer Guard of pride and boast. The Colonel sure is mighty proud when we go marching by. He knows we are the apple of his eyes. With every boot of gleaming tan and khaki spick and span, no wonder we can hear the ladies sigh. Shh, shh.
Such an excellent piece there, Isani, reflecting on
Thanks.
how the British Volunteer Guards has transitioned now to Belize Defense Force. Perhaps it's my ignorance, but I learned a lot there that I did not know before. Definitely an excellent piece. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to jump into our weather update for today. Of course, from our friends over at the National Met Service. Here's the weather update.
Good morning. A relatively moist easterly airflow prevails. The 24-hour forecast. Skies will be sunny with a few cloudy spells today and then partly cloudy to cloudy tonight. Showers and thunderstorms will be generally isolated, with a few more occurring over the south this morning and tonight, and then over inland and some central areas this afternoon. High temperatures for today will reach around 89 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 94 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 81 degrees Fahrenheit in the mountains. Low temperatures for tonight will reach around 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 75 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 69 degrees Fahrenheit in the hills. Winds over the open sea will be from the east to southeast at 5 to 15 knots, and sea conditions will be light chop. High tides occur at 10:03 this morning and then at 10:10 tonight. Low tides at 4:21 this evening and then at 4:42 tomorrow morning. The moon will rise at 6:29 this evening and set at 7:09 tomorrow morning. And then sunset is at 5:51 this evening and sunrise at 5:41 tomorrow morning. The extended forecast is for mainly fair conditions with isolated showers or thunderstorms developing on Thursday and a few more developing over the south on Thursday night. And in the tropical weather outlook for the North Atlantic, Caribbean Sea, and Gulf of Mexico, tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 48 hours. And this has been this morning's weather report from the National Meteorological Service.
And that's your weather update for this morning. Thanks once again to our friends from the National Met Service. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to jump into our show lineup for this morning. We have an exciting one planned and prepared for you all. In our first segment, we'll be joined by the Executive Director of Friends for Conservation and Development to speak on the situation/conditions of the Chiquibul National Park.
Our second segment this morning, we will be discussing the labor laws with representatives of the Labor Department.
And in our third segment, have you ever participated or engaged in a chiropractic session? Well, in that segment, we will be learning the benefits of a chiropractic session. But before we do all of that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, it's all about a conversation on the Chiquibul National Park. Stay tuned.
And I work at UMAL. 100% I will recommend Belize Bank mobile banking to everyone because it saves time, money, and gas price because gas price is high right now. Belize Bank mobile banking just make life easier.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
MacNav Visual Strategies, where creativity meets business. Step inside our world of innovative visual solutions. From captivating graphic design to expansive wide format productions, our services are tailored to bring your vision to life. Experience the impact of our high-quality signage and billboards, embroidery, promotional items, and professional paper printing, all designed to elevate your brand's presence. Every project reflects our commitment to creativity, quality, and client satisfaction. At MacNav Visual Strategies, we transform ideas into visual realities. Get in touch today.
And welcome back. We have been joined by representatives from the Friends for Conservation and Development, and they're here to talk to us this morning about the situation and the condition of the Chiquibul National Park. Joining us in studio is the Executive Director of the FCD, Rafael Manzanero.
Good morning.
Good morning. And along with him is the Manager of the Chiquibul National Park, Derek Chan. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
There's a lot that we can get into with respect of the Chiquibul. It's a vast expanse of wilderness in the western part of the country that you guys, along with the BDF and other agencies, are tasked with managing, if I could use that description. Let's start with an update as to the state of the Chiquibul as we speak, in terms of enforcement, in terms of any other activities that may be taking place within that stretch of land.
Yeah, good morning all. So in terms of an update, the Chiquibul National Park, as how we have known it, has always been like under siege. I think that was the word used some years ago. I would say that now it's really more controlled, the human aspect and the human footprint. But that took some 14 years of work out there in terms of now, containing the human footprint. We still have issues. The main issue that we have discussed here in your program is cattle ranching. That still is a pervasive activity on the ground. The Chatero days are gone. Illegal logging, to the extent that we knew it, have also been basically controlled. But cattle ranching is one of those main elements that is still on occurring, that's been expanding over more recent years. And the matter of poaching, illegal wildlife trade is still a continuous one. But that is still, pretty much limited as a factor on the ground.
What about gold panning?
Gold panning has always been a constant also one. It is small, it has not been expanding as such, but it is an ant activity. In other words, it's always there, constant. It's basically from the area of Monte Los Olivos that you will find that human footprint expansion into Belize. And that has been going on from 2011. So really that has been a constant one there. So I would say that today, in terms of the level of deforestation, even as we fly over the area, you will see that some of the areas are being recovered. In fact, up to 2015, that was the highest peak that we had up to that point of deforestation in the Chiquibul National Park and Caracol. We reached a little bit over 10,000 acres by 2015. From 2015, it started to go down. Up until last year, what we have documented is 4,700 acres that pretty much is considered now to be under a level of deforestation, being used, occupied by Guatemalans for agricultural farming and also cattle ranching. Almost half of that, of the 4,700 acres, is being used for cattle ranching. Approximately 2,000 acres being used for cattle ranching activity. I mean, the rest is for the crop, cultivation. So in reality, we are seeing more of sliding down in terms of that arrow that we saw in terms of deforestation. Mm-hmm. But there are new developments on the scene. You might have also reported about the observation of the cultivation of cocaine. That was one incident located in the Chiquibul National Park.
Yeah.
And then also a new development occurring on the ground is a paved road going way down, and it crosses Chiquibul National Park, reaching down to Caracol. So that's a major development. And as that happens, what we're going to be seeing is more a human footprint that can expand from the Belizean side, moving into these areas that were considered to be kind of more extreme and, and more remote.
Yeah.
But now that is, I mean, for anybody, Belizeans and foreigners, it's going to be really an easy kind of a trek to reach there now. Mm-hmm. It's still not going to go to the southern part, however, of the Chiquibul National Park or the area of, but frankly, it opens a full new kind of a challenge, mm-hmm. because then there will need to be control programs. I mean, these areas are really vast and also beautiful areas. Natural Arch, mm-hmm. The Caracol temples, the Chiquibul caverns, that people have only heard about it in the past. So these are going to tend to be much more accessible. So what we are seeing right now is really a containment of the border issues. There are still Guatemalans still basically coming in, of course, but not to the extent as how we had it before. As that containment is occurring, what we have to start to get prepared is now the internal kind of the advancement of, and I'm not saying that visitation is bad. It's not bad, because that is part of the economy. But how do we make sure that we can still be able to keep a wilderness area that is so beautiful and can be enjoyed by Belizeans and foreigners? So I think that's the new kind of the trick coming in.
Yeah.
As the economy can be seen then as an opportunity, financial kind of attributions, then we need to be very careful in terms of how do we do it more under a sustainable program. And I think that's the question.
Word.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the policy for land use, if there's any at all, where the Chiquibul is concerned when you think about Belizeans, foreigners entering that area? What can be done and what cannot be done?
Well, in reality, it basically varies, because you see the Chiquibul ecosystem. There are three areas there: the Chiquibul Forest Reserve, the Chiquibul National Park, and Caracol Archaeological Monument. These are under different kind of management regimes. I can tell you that in the national park, it is prohibited to have any sort of development as per se, right? So I don't see in the park the kind of the impression of having big lodges and those kind of things. We wish that it could be kept really as that unique kind of a destination. And I think over the years we have discussed about a sustainable development kind of a model of tourism. Where are we going to get that? I would hope and I would wish that it happens in some of these areas. Because the Chiquibul Caverns, for example, it is mentioned in the National Development Plan for Tourism for this country. Almost no one has been there. It's yet so vast, but you will still lose it right now. You will not find it. It's there, 65 kilometers of passageways of caves.
Wow. That's expensive,
but it's,
right?
You can see it from the air, you can see the kind of the uniqueness of this. But really to be able to reach there and to put your foot in there, it's not so easy to find it right now. But that might be the kind of the tourism experience that you might want to get out of a wilderness like this. But that is our ideas, that's our thought. But who knows, out there might be somebody who's thinking much more bigger than that.
Right.
So that is really the context we are saying as FCD, in terms of the basic fundamental principles of doing environmental work and conservation. The conservation in the terminology is for the greater good, for the greater number of people, for the longest term. How are we going to keep that? For us, we wish that it could be done. It will take a really good decision-making processes to be able to ensure that the uniqueness, we still can be able to generate the financial income. But how do we keep it in sustainable manner?
Well,
so that's the trick. Yeah.
When you look at a new road being pushed through that area, naturally that will attract visitors from across the country and from outside of the country. And so I'm looking at it as to be able to manage it in as best as possible, the human footprints. Because when you look at that kind of traffic, you start thinking about the flora and fauna and perhaps the displacement of certain species because people are going in and out of that particular area, which automatically makes your job a lot more difficult or challenging, because how do you then manage people from accessing, or how they access these areas?
Exactly, and I think we have to record now to people who have had more experience. I mean, Belize Audubon has been dealing with visitation for much more years than us. I mean, for us, we are still in Pampers. We don't really know exactly how really to maneuver with that. We already knew how to master the kind of the transboundary issues. I think at least we were already knowing, at least we were much more better in terms of the strategies to use. But now this new one is a new entry for us. We'll have to learn faster because that paved road is going to occur in less than 1 year, I think, is going to be finished. So there's already people who are venturing to want to go there.
Eyeing land. But I want to bring Mr. Derrick into the conversation to put into context the Chiquibul National Park within this vast expanse of forest or land and its importance to that area.
Well, the Chiquibul, we've said it many times, it's highly important for Belize. For the forest, the water, and tourism, and every other economic, a benefit that it can bring. So it does have its greatness, I would think. Just the other day, we were speaking at one of our meetings, where I mentioned the Chiquibul is great, it's unbelievable, right? The natural arch, the scarlet macaws, the forest, just the forest, schools come to Las Cuevas sometimes, and children are just, amazed, right? From Belize City or even Corozal, they have way up to Chiquibul, way up to the Las Cuevas research station, and just by driving through the forest, for them, it's really something out of this world. It's something that you don't see every day. Even just a bird or a goatee, snake, anything flying across. It's of great importance. That's the romantics, right?
Yeah.
We know that, and its importance. But the threats, are the thing that at that point, for us, becomes of concern and important for us to address. So I think for this year in particularly, and speaking about the state of the Chiquibul, for this year, I think it has been a great year. It's been a very good year in terms of our accomplishments. I want to say kudos to the Belize Defense Force. I saw the documentary right now, and like the gentleman said, it brings tears to my eyes, and I wish the thousands of soldiers we have could see this documentary, because, it really brings our hearts, to the work that we are doing along the Chiquibul, along the border, right? I just want to mention, for example, this month, or last month, we did 3 successful operations, right? They were specifically on cattle ranching. We met there the Guatemalans who are doing the cattle ranching. We spoke to them. They knew that we are doing this operation, and I think in terms of the relationship, it doesn't show the aggression. So I think it's a process. It is a process of learning. It is a process. I see it as a buffering type of, when you have a resistance and when you have something that you are accustomed to do and you don't know it's wrong, but eventually you accept that it's wrong, right? That's the situation along the border. Hence, Rafael mentioned, the acreage is reducing. We cannot bring down our guards. And we continue to work together with the BDF. We support each other. They support us. We support. We're one, right? And our duty is out there to do this job that I think it's just getting better. And in the years to come, it's just, we'll have, much better stories to tell about. There are some things that are difficult to control, like hunting and maybe hunting, poaching. Those are things where, it is like, you can imagine in the night, maybe a rat will come, something, and it runs and it gets away. So you can't really see him, right? So a hunter comes in the jungle, hunts, he goes away. So you can't really track him so easy because they do things. Some of these activities are done at night.
Where do you see most of the hunting activities taking place, and who do you believe are the perpetrators of these illegal activities?
Hunting happens mostly like in the first 5 kilometers from the border into Belize. And of course, it is done by communities from Guatemala, villagers who depend largely from, let's say, proteins of the forest. You can go and kill a deer or a peccary or gibnut, for food. So they will do that. But again, we are finding ways to let's say, to address this, to work with them. Last year, we met with communities. They have been very positive in responding with us, talking, like let's start again, let's start all over, let's sit, the Chiquibul, they understand the Chiquibul is important. The water of the Chiquibul, a lot of the water goes to the communities, practically. The water goes first to those communities, then it comes to us. So we
down here to Belize,
then it comes back to Belize through the Chiquibul and the Mopan River. So sometimes we joke about when we speak with the community leaders, like, okay, we're sending you clean water. Okay, we want that water back again, clean,
Yeah, it's quite literal, actually.
But at the end of the day, that's it. Whichever way you put it, the Chiquibul is a tank of water, right? And that you can collect that water. Guatemalans can collect that water any day for their villages, for their cattle, for irrigation, and then that's what we're doing, protecting it.
I think in the open dialogue with communities, with Guatemala, which is a new strategy now, is now basically speaking with the community leaders and community members. What is happening in Guatemala, however, is that there is a sort of a new elements arriving to those communities. So these communities, like for example, La Rejoya, San Jose Las Flores, these communities have basically been more open to that dialogue. However, they also claim that there are other people coming in from other parts of Petén, other parts from Guatemala, that are coming in and moving into those territories. And so these communities are in a way being displaced even. So even though now we reach to them out, there are new elements arriving in that territory. So there's a new change of those trends also occurring, where the communities are much more now open for dialogue, but there are new elements arriving. So it's a kind of a evolving trend in that territory. So we still know of kind of survey lines. Near Caracol, there are survey lines. And survey lines have always been seen over the last, 30 years, where Guatemalans come in and they claim their portion of land. So they open it. And you can see one reaching, I don't know, half a kilometer or 1 kilometer under the jungle, where then eventually they would want to possess those lands. So there's more of those people coming in. I was told the people are arriving from San Francisco, which is really the northern part of Petén. People are moving in there now. So we still need to continue working like what Derek said. It doesn't stop, because it's, we are looking at a frontier of some 45 kilometers.
And that's interesting, and that's where I wanted to take the conversation to talk a bit. I'm interested in understanding the size of your operations, because when we're talking about this vast expanse of forest land, and it's encouraging to hear that deforestation has decreased by almost 50% or more than 50% from what we were seeing in 2015. Yeah, it says to me that a lot of work is being done. What does your operation look like in terms of the size and how often you all patrol these areas? Who's doing the patrols?
I think like what Derek mentioned, it is really a joint effort. The BDF is very critical to the picture here. If you know, there are the conservation posts that are dotted right along strategic locations of that western front of the Chiquibul. So that can only be done through a joint effort. So the BDF, the more patrols that we have, I think it's very much clear to us that boots on the ground is important. Mm-hmm. The effectiveness of that, however, are the good boots on the ground. In other words, the number of patrols that we can run there in that frontier. Mm-hmm. Now, I can tell you one of the tricky things also as we speak on this is how do we get good rangers? For us, I know the military probably would have their own kind of their platforms, how they're doing it, but for us, I can tell you guys that when we started back in 2007, we used to get a lot of people, over 100 guys who want to be a ranger, right?
Then they realize it's not for them, right?
Now it's like, yes, exactly. They realize, goodness, this thing is really hard, right? I still, we at FCD still would love to have another 4 rangers right now. Mm-hmm. But to get those number of people now who have that vocation to survive out in a jungle environment at that extreme, it is becoming much more scarce now, Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I don't really have the answer. But I guess the call centers now in Kyle, there's a lot of call centers, and so the young people would, of course, it's easier,
I shouldn't be laughing, but I'm glad that you've made that contrast, right? So the question then is, so how do you make it more attractive for anyone to want to become a ranger, notwithstanding all of these other jobs that are out there that perhaps are less tedious?
Yeah. What's more attractive than the beauty that we saw on the screen and we're seeing on the screen in terms of the forest and the land, right?
But environmentalism, it's getting, it's more kind of complicated. Mm-hmm. When we started back in 1989, guys, I was 19 years old. You had that kind of, that passion to explore Belize.
Yeah.
We wanted to learn what Belize was. 1981, independence time, 1989, we were still wondering what Belize was. We felt we could learn it by doing outdoors. Outdoors, you would prefer to be in your home and watch, and be with your tablet probably more than being out in the jungle. So things are changing. But you are right. How do we now are able to compete with that kind of new factor? I guess we'll have to make it more innovative. We have to increase salaries probably, give more benefits. NGOs, we don't really have all the benefits like other, like agencies, right? Where at the end of the day, you end up your job, you won't get a pension program. Nobody gives a pension program in NGOs. Mm-hmm. So, young people are looking at these things and saying, in the long haul, what will be my benefits? So we have to look at those benefits. I know for sure we have to do it. If we want to attract those people also to, the livelihoods is much more expensive now. We need to provide for all of these things. So I think as the trends are evolving, we also have to be innovative in spirit and also because there are people. They are environmentalists. Don't take me wrong. They are environmentalists, but it's not so much. It's not like it's. I always was taught that environmentalists might be like less than 1%.
Yeah.
So how do you get really to reach to those and be able to provide still, given the changes of livelihood, kind of costs and everything. So we have to reach to that level too.
What about technological advancements to bridge those gaps? What are we looking at, if any, Antonio?
Yeah, it is. I've been recommending that to Rafael on my monthly reports. We have to turn to technology. That's going to help us. Not your tablet, but drones, cameras on the ground. Even the binational relationship with them. We have been putting. What are these radio spots called? Even those things are helping. But it's dialogue. It's like when you ask also, what is our size of our operation? I think it's our size of strategy that counts more than size of operation, right? But yeah, we will turn more into that technology,
And the payroll is going to
Yeah.
basically, because you see, in terms of technology for us, you need to have like a tower, for example, because you can have live stream, but you need really that, and we don't have that right now. So I think with the payroll, it's going to mean also, that kind of possibility.
But the other thing, I think, Rafael, in terms of you mentioning, environmentalists, there are environmentalists. You probably are environmentalists, right? You take care of your garbage and you plant your tree, but you won't want to be a ranger, right? But probably yes.
Who knows?
But the job of a ranger in the Chiquibul, I was a ranger, a park warden. I work in almost all the protected areas managed by the Audubon Society. And I don't remember, right, having to hike so hard, as in the Chiquibul. I mean, the soldiers can tell you that, right? You walk to Rio Blanco, it's almost 2 days of walking to reach where you're going to work, right? When you reach there, you need to rest and then you work.
Then you start work.
So
then walk out back.
And then we only have an amount of rangers. Let's say, in the case of the BDF, they keep rotating because there is, thousands of them. We only have 18 rangers, so they rotate the same place. So that's a difficult thing in terms of working in the Chiquibul. It is really a lot of torque on your knees, on your body, living out there, without internet, without a TV or nice shower and that kind of stuff.
You forgo those amenities for the sake of the job, right?
Yeah.
Because at the point that you are applying, or you tell yourself, this is what I want to do, you have to understand that there won't be hot and cold showers, there won't be all of these fancy things. I mean, the job doesn't call for that.
And we actually try really to explain that, However, it's until you reach there, because we have had everybody who arrives and they say, yes, man, I am ready to go. But and that's why we now have a system where we actually give you a trial.
Yeah.
You are inserted in there for a number of days. And yet at that time, you are still not an employee of FCD. You are still pretty much to see if you will love that. Because it's really the extreme, So you might say, I'm good to hike, but you might say, I play football, so I'm good at that. But once you go there, then you see that in reality, even though that physical might not be able to be prolonged in terms of that territory there. So, but we give that opportunity now, at least for them to be tested themselves to see if they really love this thing. And of course, the guys that we have, I would say they are pure in terms of that kind of values, that they really want to do something of a change for this country.
As we begin to wrap up our segment with you guys this morning, let's find out from you, what is the future? What are we looking at going forward in terms of the conservation work that you're doing, in terms of being able to address some of the existing challenges that you see will carry into the months, if not years ahead?
I think what we know for sure is that we will need really to build more partnerships with also local organizations here in the country. We have done that in Guatemala because that was the major issue, with us. Secondly, we have to look at buffer zones. The Chiquibul, even though it's so large, but you cannot protect Chiquibul only from inside. You have to protect it from outside. So that's why we have been working over the last 2 years with the Ministry of Sustainable Development to look at us really to be also be positioned in a way on working on the buffer. The buffer is the Vaca Forest Reserve, the Mountain Pine Ridge, right? The Columbia River down south, because those are really buffer areas. So we have to really to see more at what we call it a landscape management program. We cannot only see ourselves only embedded there, because the threats are from outside coming in. So the future for FCD, we would love to see more at a landscape approach to doing environmental work. And that means also diversifying with our partnerships on the ground. It will be dependent on the government. I would say that right now, even more so, it is important. There is a sustainable development plan that was actually brought in about 3 years ago. it talks about all the models, it talks about the pillars on what sustainability can be for this area. It is something that we have discussed with the government that it is time to go back again and check this document. I mean, it can be reviewed, it might be modified, but it's something that we should embrace as a strategy for that area there. With the new challenges coming in, there has to be more institutions that have to be a part of that management regime. That includes Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Finance, Economic Development, the border security. So all of this, not only FCD, we are only the small one there, you know. I mean, the agencies of government. How do we want to ensure we know about the richness? You know, I was out in the Chiquibul just about 3 days ago. We went to look, and I've always mentioned you can get an Indiana Jones experience any day in the Chiquibul. I went there and you can see mounds, Maya monuments under the jungle. You can see the Maya ponds that were used. You can have these experiences any day. Now, these are things that people would love to see, you know, but how do we do it sustainably? So I think we need to look at that plan from a major kind of a macro level, because there are many areas there. The highest point is right in Chiquibul also. People would love to go and see the highest point, right? So all of these things are there. Now that it's contained, guys, now that the threat, I mean, for us, and this is really the kind of the scenario in one sentence, Chiquibul is more safer today. What will it take for us to keep it that way now? It is ours. It is not under siege as before so many years ago. Now you can reach there safely. Now it's the onus on us as a Belizean society to say, and the decision makers to say, now we can be able now to develop it in a way that is sustainable.
Yeah, because the truth of the matter is, as we progress into the future, the desire to like visit these locations and see these types of things that you're describing will increase. And whether you like it or not, more and more people will discover it, and more people will trek through these paths and want to be there. So how is it, the question is correct, how is it that we safeguard it now, so that when that comes and when that begins to happen, we've already put a plan in place so that it's not pillaged.
And no longer can we blame the Guatemalans.
Yeah.
Now it's the onus on us.
Correct.
As a society to say, guys, this is how we want it, and this is how we're going to make it possible.
Mr. Derek, final thoughts from you, please.
I think Rafael mentioned the will is also on the government. We need to continue to get that support, right? That the strategic, let's say, vision of the Chiquibul. Research, I think, is important. You know, without research, we don't really know. You know, the more research we do, we will learn more about the Chiquibul and more about the importance, about climate change, how this contributes. I think the creation of these protected areas was excellent, and we need to keep it, right? I don't think we made a mistake in creating our protected areas, especially the Maya Mountain Massif, right? But we need to continue to get that support from the government, especially in the biodiversity side, right? And then I want to once again say thanks to the Belize Defense Force and our partners, you know, and then I think this is the good time when we are all happy, you know, in our national celebrations to say we are doing a great job. And I say we is the joint forces and the partners protecting the Chiquibul, protecting our soil, you know, and everything that is in it.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you for your time. I know you both woke up early this morning and traveled from far, and we do pray you have a safe journey back.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
appreciate the time too.
Yeah. Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have our friends over from the Labor Department, and so we'll be having that conversation next. You don't want to go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Belize, get ready for the tech event of the year. Cellular World presents its very own second annual Nationwide Expo 2024. Celebrate Belize in style and gear up for massive savings on all your favorite tech brands, no matter where you are. Mark your calendars on September 12th, 13th, and 14th. Stop by our stores for our grand pre-expo in-store sale. We're taking the expo excitement to every corner of Belize, making it a true nationwide expo. Visit our expo booth at the Expo Belize Marketplace 2024 at the Marion Jones Stadium on September 14th and 15th. And for our Norteños, we are coming to Corazon on September 28th. And on September 27th and 28th, we are heading down south to Dangriga and Punta Gorda. Yes, you heard right. No matter where you are, the same incredible expo deals are at your fingertips. From north to south and east to west, Cellular World Nationwide Expo deals will be the best.
Let's take a journey through the core functions of the Social Security Board. It all starts with registering as an insured person, employer, or self-employed individual. Sign up for a portal account to manage your Social Security information online. Just provide accurate information and click Create. This will give you access to a range of services and benefits. Next, your contribution, along with investments and other income, are collected and distributed into 3 funds. This ensures that the SSB fund is securely utilized to support various benefit programs. The SSB is committed to providing essential benefits such as sickness, maternity, injury, and pension. These benefits are paid out to eligible individuals as a part of the Social Security coverage. We help you navigate through life's challenges with financial security. Annual surplus accumulates to grow the fund each year. This surplus is invested into various industries, contributing to the growth and development of our nation. With each passing year, the fund continues to grow due to the annual surplus and interest revenue earned from prudent investments. This surplus, along with reserves, helps to bolster the SSB fund and provide a safety net for those in need. We've arrived at the end of our journey to better understanding how the SSB works. We remain committed to serving you and building a secure future for all Belizeans.
I'm connected. Yo.
I'm connected.
We're connected.
Create the perfect broadband bundle that fits your style with Smart Connect. With the Junior Bundle, get 50% off your national calls and up to 6 gigabytes of data at no extra cost. Get postpaid added on for an additional cost of only $25 with the Prime Bundle. Stay connected with unlimited smart-to-smart calls plus 6,300 megabytes of data and free international minutes. For the family, get the Binge Watchers bundle with Netflix add-on for only $28.13 more. This bundle gives you 4 profiles with unlimited streaming on multiple devices. Visit a showroom near you to sign up and personalize your own bundle combination with Smart Connect. Smart, bringing people together.
Welcome back and thank you for staying tuned with us. In this conversation, our second segment, we have joining us a team from the Labor Department, and they'll be speaking with us about labor laws and the functions of the Labor Department. We have Labor Officer Ms. Daria Bomes, as well as Labor Officer Mr. Domingo Pau. Good morning to both of you.
Good
morning. All right, so I understand you all traveled a bit this morning from Belmopan and out west. Yeah. Correct? All right, so first of all, let's get into a bit about the primary roles and responsibilities of the Labor Department. Let's get some insight into that for those who may not be fully aware of what it is you all do.
All right, a pleasant good morning. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to be on your show this morning and to educate the general public as well in terms of the Labor Department and its functions. The Labor Department enforces labor legislations that pertains to employment relationship, laws that governs employment relationship. So For example, we enforce the Labor Act, which is Chapter 297 of the Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, and the Shops Act, which is Chapter 287 of the Laws of Belize. And also, aside from that, we also have other legislations like the Factories Act, factory regulations, and so forth. So, but the primary legislation that the Labor Department enforces is the Labor Act itself. You know, so in the Labor Act, of course, it gives you the legal obligations of employers and responsibilities, and also the employees as well. So generally, the functions of the Labor Department under the law is that we enforce labor legislation, we carry out inspection in places where people are employed. We also provide advice. People coming in or people call us and seek guidance in accordance with the labor law. We also receive and vet applications for temporary employment permit, which is also a function of the Labor Department. We also carry out what we call labor education, whereby we go and we educate employers, workers in terms of their rights and responsibilities. So we also carry out that function as well as the Labor Department. No? And so basically, that's like the core functions of the Labor Department.
It's interesting that you've outlined all of these roles and responsibilities, because I think generally when people think of the Labor Department, you'd hear somebody say, our carry the labor, or our call the Labor Department to a new sort of like an enforcement body, almost like the police.
Right.
But instead of take you to the police, I'll take you to the Labor Department, which says to me that there are certain issues primarily that you all deal with. But I want to get into what are some of the primary or main issues where labor is concerned that you all see on a day-to-day basis, people seeking resolutions for.
Okay. Well, basically, again, people want to know their rights or what is legally obligated for them or entitlement under the law. So, for example, people would call the Labor Department, you know what, Mr. Powell, I just got terminated. I wasn't given any notice, and I almost worked a year and I didn't get any vacation, you know. So under the law, those are infractions, all right? Those are infractions, and it is a contravention against the law. So then the employer then, by law, must comply with those sections to ensure that those benefits are to be paid to the worker. Or, I mean, this is on a daily basis,
Correct.
you know? A daily basis, people are put on suspension, whether the reason was viable or not. You know, there are procedures in the law in terms of carrying out suspensions. You know, was due process taken? Was there an investigation? That kind of thing. So, and also the law also states that if a person is placed on suspension, then it can be up to a maximum of 30 days, but on half pay. You know, that kind of thing. So I was placed on suspension, but I wasn't paid anything. You know, that kind of thing. So those are the issues in terms of severance, for example, under Section 183 of the Labor Act, that persons may be, a person may resign, for example. A worker may resign. And this is, again, on a daily basis. People they resign for personal reasons, no? And the person may have 5 years or more. But then when they request whether they are going to be paid for their severance, then the employer might say, well, you know what, you don't qualify because you have resigned. And then they would reach out to the Labor Department to confirm whether that a response was accurate. And then we would give them guidance and said, well, yeah, according to the law, that if you have between 5 to 10 years, there's only 3 conditions in which a person may qualify for severance, which is 1, if you got to be terminated by the employer; 2, whether you reach the age of retirement, which is 60; or 3, whether you are certified to be medically unfit and certified by the medical practitioner that you can no longer continue the employment relationship. But then again, that has a process, because then now also we have also seen now that, you know, people may resign claiming that they are sick, and they might bring their doctor paper. But then it is not really that way, because then there is a process. You have to go through the Social Security, go through that medical board. The medical board will determine your fitness for work. If you cannot continue, then they will determine that. Then it is based on that decision that you will be able to tender in your resignation and then qualify for your severance. So things like those that will reach out to the Labor Department.
That process in respect of declaring one medically unfit for work seems to be very long and protracted, though, because I can recall in my other capacity as a reporter having done stories where some people have been written off as medically unfit by their doctors, the very same physicians or persons who deal with them directly. But in order for them to go through that process with the SSB and to get their board to essentially agree with the fact that the medical practitioner has indeed written this person off is a lengthy process that is frustrating. So how does that then work in the context of someone who is ill, they are prepared to come off work, they are perhaps beginning the process of the resignation, but then they have to go through this long and tedious one through the SSB?
Well, again, what Social Security does, really, we cannot speak of what the processes they do take. Because, again, from labor standpoint, is that we ensure that we carry out what is strictly what the law says.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying, but again, I can't speak of their processes or,
I'm saying that in the context that it comes right back to you guys, right? So if it starts from one end, you go through that process and it comes back to the Labor Department.
Right. Well, for us, we just have to advise the person that, until that happens, that the separation of employment can happen. So how long that takes, we can't speak of that, but for us to ensure that, that until that happens, that decision is made, then the separation of employment can happen.
Let's get Daria in on the conversation at this point. What has been your experience working from the Belmopan office in terms of persons fully being abreast of the labor laws and how labor laws affect their employment?
As Mr. Paul has mentioned, we have our district countrywide, and I'm stationed at the Belmopan branch, and we basically, labor officers, do the same duties and responsibilities on a daily basis. People reach out to us when it comes to sick leave, maternity leave, as Mr. Paul has mentioned, severance pay. And we assist in giving them advice.
Is it primarily you operate in an advisory role? Are there occasions or instances where labor officers step in, go physically to a location, or are there instances where labor officers can enact some sort of enforcement role as well, perhaps even be present in court to help an individual with a case, or is it primarily just advisory role?
We do advise, and if we see fit that when we advise and we have reached to a point that employers do not comply, then we do represent the individual in court as well.
But when it comes to enforcement, again, when there are infractions of the labor law, it carries out penalties. For example, if I speak of Section 16 of the Labor Act, where it states that every employer shall keep proper records of their employees. Now, if I go to visit a place and there is no record, the Labor Department has the right to take that employer to court, all right, for failing to keep records. All right, so that's an infraction under the law. Again, for failing to pay severance as well. You see, Labor Department basically is an enforcement organization or department, but we work with the employers to try to resolve whatever issues there may be. So then, only if the employer is not in a position to make any payment, then we know then for a fact that there is a violation of the law. Then we then proceed in resolving that matter through the court. we do prosecute cases in court, whereby we would then take the matter to court, and then we resolve the matter in court.
All right, let's perhaps look at some labor law examples, or perhaps some scenarios that employees and employer, where that employee and employer relationship is concerned. For one might be asking, sitting at their TV screen, asking, what is due to them where severance is concerned?
Okay.
How do we break that down to better understand what the labor law says, firstly, about severance?
Okay. Section 183 of the Labor Act speaks of severance. And again, there are ways to qualify for any benefit. Generally, under the law, you have to meet certain requirements. All right? First of all, the severance, to become qualified or may be qualified, you have to have 5 years. All right? Yeah. So anything less than 5 years,
you don't get nothing.
Nada.
Yeah.
All right? So at 5 years now, you may become qualified, like I said, but then you have to meet the requirements. Earlier I mentioned 3 requirements, such as being terminated by the employer, right, without assigning a reason. So being terminated by the employer, meaning that the employee itself didn't do anything wrong, but it is the employer who decided that, okay, I no longer need you. All right? And then under Section 37 of the Labor Act, which speaks of notice, that in order for me, that the employer doesn't have to assign a reason to terminate me, providing that the person gives me adequate notice in accordance to Section 37, which speaks of notice. All right? So if I have 6 years and my employer decided one day, I no longer need Mr. Paul, I give him his 8 weeks notice. I work my 8 weeks notice, so at the end of my notice period, he pays me my severance. Now, because I have 6 years, then it will be 1 week's pay for every year of employment.
So 6 weeks basically.
Correct.
Pay.
Right. And if there is any outstanding vacation pay that is due to me, then that also will be paid to me. All right. So I will go home with my 6 weeks pay for severance and my vacation pay.
Okay.
Close. Now, if I resign, like I mentioned, that I forfeit my benefit. I could have 9 years and 6 months, 10 months, and I resign. Then I forfeit my benefit. So that doesn't qualify me. I can only do so if I have 10 years or more. Based on resignation, once I have 10 years or more, I qualify for my severance, in addition to the other requirements which I've mentioned. Now, if I have 10 years, then it will be 2 weeks pay for every year of employment for severance. Okay. And then the calculation for severance is based on current earnings. It's based on what you are getting now. But if you don't have fixed earning, then it will be like an average of, depending on how you get paid. Because then under the law, it specifies whether if you are an hourly paid worker, then it tells you how to calculate to get the weekly pay for your severance.
Well,
let's go back a bit, just for some clarity here. So you're saying that for someone who's interested in another job or leaving the current job, once they have met that 10-year threshold, they can resign and would still be eligible for benefits.
Correct.
Okay. And anything going beyond that, but not below.
Not below.
Below that, if you resign, you're not entitled.
No, basically you're forfeiting your benefit.
I don't want to venture into the why that is the case, because you probably get into the philosophy of the legislation.
Well, again, we ourselves might not know why, but we just do the enforcement, or we just go with what the law says.
All right, so here's another interesting one, and perhaps, Ms. Ira, you can take on this one. You let me know if you could give us some explanation. But where holidays and sick leaves are concerned, it's a big one for employees and employers. What does the labor law says about holidays and sick days? How much are you entitled to? What is your responsibility as the employee and the employer?
When it comes to sick leave, according to the Labor Act, it states that an individual who is working is entitled to the 16 working days sick leave with pay. If you qualify under the Social Security Act and the employer, Social Security will pay the 80% and the difference from the employer. When it comes to public and bank holidays, it is stated that once an individual is been paid by day, by work, by hour, by piece, and the individual is scheduled to work the day before, immediately preceding, and following the public and bank holiday, then that individual should be compensated a day's pay for the public and bank holiday.
Perhaps where the holiday is concerned, I'm talking about vacation leave.
Annual leave.
Yeah, annual leave.
An individual, a worker, an employee who has been employed by the same employer is entitled to 2 working weeks vacation leave for each year.
Okay, 2 working weeks, vacation leave, and 16 days sick leave. That's what you call it, right? What am I obligated to do as the employee when it comes to the sick leaves? What's my obligation?
All right, so if I can elaborate a little bit in terms of the sick leave. Again, to qualify under the Labor Act, you must be employed with the same employer for at least 60 days.
Wow.
So again, remember I said there are requirements to qualify for benefits. So if you have been employed for 60 days with the same employer, you are already qualified for sickness benefit under the labor law. Now, whether you qualify under Social Security, again, that's a different thing. So the payment will be shared. But let's say you are a new employee, fresh out of school, and this is your first employment. To qualify for sickness benefit under the Social Security, you have to have certain amount of contribution. And by just working for 60 days, you won't have that. So then you will only qualify under the Labor Act. So in that case, then the employer is then fully responsible to pay the 100% of your sick leave, 16-day sick leave for the year. All right. So now, if qualified under both legislation, then it's shared between Social Security and the employer when it comes to sick leave. Again, the responsibility of a worker, now this is where responsibility comes, that you cannot just, if you're going to claim sick for that day, then you must ensure you do the proper thing by going to a medical practitioner and make sure you get your doctor's certificate and do the right thing, or fill out your Social Security papers and submit them.
Every sick leave.
Every sick leave.
Every day.
Every day.
Most people don't. I guess either most people don't, or most employers don't enforce. Because oftentimes you find people calling sick.
Just calling sick today.
We give them the day, but we don't tell them, bring your doctor paper tomorrow when you come back to work.
Right. So again, we try our best to let them know the importance. Because yes, you might accept it now and again, but there will be a point in time that, you know what, this is too much now. And now to stop that now will be a problem because you have set precedents, right? But the real thing to do is to make sure you follow through with your papers. And now the law then put the onus on the employer to ensure that if a person claims to be sick and the person does not produce a medical certificate, then the employer needs to write the employee and tell them, you must produce your medical certificate in 48 hours. Failure to do so, you will not receive your pay for sickness leave.
I think one of the perceived loopholes is that some people would call in sick once every so often, and the employers were lenient on that. We understand, but they try not to have consistent or consecutive sick days because then they would be required to bring the paper. So if you call in sick on a Monday, maybe I look the other way and say, okay, maybe the person will really feel good or whatsoever. But Monday, Tuesday, then Wednesday you have to bring your doctor paper, or any day beyond a certain number, you'd have to present your paper. So you find that people, once a month they are calling sick. Conveniently perhaps, or maybe they are legitimately sick. We don't know because we turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, we are no practitioners, like what you said, in order for us to believe what they're saying, that they must produce a medical certificate. Now, we do come across employers, you know what they say, it's just one day. But then what we do then, we would then advise the employer, listen, if you want to do that, it's best you formulate what we call a workplace policy. Put it into a policy form so that you protect yourself and you protect both parties, right? Because then if you don't have a policy, then anything you do outside of the law, you will run into problem.
Here's an interesting one, though, and time is quickly running up on us, and we could throw out a bunch of scenarios in this conversation. But mental health is a real issue, and I don't know that the labor laws consider mental health. Sometimes you don't need a day for physical health, but sometimes you just need a mental health day, and I'm not sure that if you go to the hospital that they would give you some sort of paper where mental health is concerned.
Well, again, in terms of labor relation, it's all about social dialogue.
Yeah.
All right. Again, we from the labor standpoint, we try to let the parties understand that, listen, this is not just about me nor about you, this is about us trying to work together and understanding. Now, once we can do that, then of course we will be able to understand each other. So, and that is why we encourage, that type of engagement in the workplace. If you as an employee going through some type of, situations like what you said, I mean, there are some things that are obvious, that are certain things that you cannot see, but it's affecting the person. And then you might see that in terms of performance. All right, in terms of performance, maybe the person reached late to work. So obviously there is some issue there. Now, as a concerned employer would want to, engage the person and say, listen, and we try to let them understand that this is what needs to be done. You need to dialogue, you need to, because then if you have healthy workforce, of course, you will have, better productivity, better results, So that's what we would encourage.
So there's people sending in questions. So I'll just put out these last two questions from viewers. One is asking, and I'll just bunch them together and we could answer them as best. One is asking if it is mandatory to work overtime. Right? And another person is asking whether it's a full-time or part-time, if it is mandatory to work on public and bank holidays. You brought that up. And if so, what should be the pay scale if it's mandatory?
Okay, in terms of if it's mandatory to work overtime, the answer to that question is no. The law is very specific. It says nobody is obligated to work, of course, public and bank holidays, any day that is rest days or any other day substituted for a rest day. And that is why the law also speaks the hours of work, whether it's shops, it's 8 hours, Labor Act, 9 hours a day, 45 hours a week. Working overtime should be a mutual agreement between the employer and the employee. Nobody cannot force, an employer should not force an employee to work overtime, nor the employee cannot force an employer to give them overtime. So we have to agree. Because once we agree, then the employer will then agree to pay me, whatever is legally due to me, whether it's time and a half. Now, if I'm going to work overtime, then it's automatically time and a half that I should be paid.
Yeah.
All right, in terms of the overtime. But because remember, when you are hired, you come into an agreement in terms of the hours of work you're going to work for the day, by the week, and the salary. So that is fixed. So now, if that is going to change, then we have to agree again. All right. So that is how the overtime is treated.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so you wanted to add to it?
When it comes to the public and bank holiday, Belize recognizes 14 days public and bank holidays. Good Friday, Easter Monday, and Christmas are double. All the other public and bank holidays is 1.5.
So time and a half, they call that, right? And then double time. All right, so this conversation has been very insightful, and we could really spend a lot more time on it. Let's get some closing thoughts from both of you.
Well, again, from the labor standpoint, I just want to encourage the employers, employees, even the general public, to reach out to our office for any guidance or advice that they may need before making any decision. Because then again, sometimes employees tend to make certain decisions and resign before even consulting or finding out whether they're doing the right thing or not. And then after they resign, then they would find out that, oh man, I didn't know, and then they would end up giving up their benefits because they didn't know. So I would advise them to visit our website, the Ministry of Rural Transformation, and then look at the laws as well. We have the laws there, or contact our district offices and reach out to us. Again, I also want to encourage employers to reach out to us to set up some sort of labor education, educating them, the employees, management, workers into our rights and responsibilities. So, reach out to us.
To add to what Mr. Powell had said, we are located in all districts: Punta Gorda, Dangriga, Belize City, Belmopan, Orange Walk, Corozal, Free Zone, including San Pedro.
Excellent. So there's no place it can't be reached, right? But either by employer or employee.
Right. And again, just to add we have some of our services online right now. For example, the labor complaint management system. So if you want to file a complaint, you don't have to physically go to the office. You can go to our website, and then you could file in your claim on our online platform, and then we will be able to receive it, and then we will get in touch with you. Again, same thing with the temporary employment permit. We have an online platform for persons who wanting to employ foreigners, of course, with its requirements. You apply online, and then we do the different processes there.
Excellent. Well, both of you, thank you so much for joining us this morning and having this insightful conversation.
Thank you too as well.
All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we have our final segment. You don't want to miss this last conversation, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. I'm Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, "Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another." Have you noticed that sometimes it is easier for some people to rejoice over someone's misfortunes than it is to rejoice over their successes? My wife and I were traveling one day down the Hummingbird Highway on our way to Dangriga when we came to a small village where I knew there was a need. We stopped to give a family of about 12 all a pair of new shoes. One by one, we began to try to find a pair that would fit each. I noticed that one girl, about 15, instead of trying to find her a pair of shoes, was trying diligently to find each brother and sister a pair. When everyone had a pair of shoes, she then tried to find her a pair, but none would fit. Our hearts sank, even though I promised her a new pair, which I carried on the next trip and the next month. However, I will never forget the joy she had over her brothers and sisters finding shoes. That day I learned what it really meant to rejoice with those who rejoice. A young Indian girl on the Hummingbird Highway in Belize reminded me. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
With the steady increase in prices, it's hard to hold on to your hard-earned cash. Well, here at Benny's, prices are steadily falling, making it easier to stretch your dollars. Prices are slashed on roofing, plywood, nails, rebar, paints, lumber, and other products for your construction needs. And with fantastic discounts going on right now, get store-wide deals on select products from now through September 30th. Visit a Benny's store near you today, where the prices just keep on falling. Benny's, quality and savings.
My name is Leomar Langzert, and I'm a teacher, and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is the safety features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer, with these online that Belize Bank offer, is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
$50 and get a chance to win a $10,000 home vacation with Benny's. Quality and savings.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connections. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Welcome to Design Depot, home of Sherwin-Williams Paint. Sherwin-Williams Paint is one of the most reputable paints in the industry, known for its superior quality, durability, and environmentally friendly technology. We carry a large variety of products for all your home and commercial needs, such as interior and exterior paints, primers, wood stains, sealers, clear top coats, caulking, aerosols, concrete, and masonry products. Achieve professional looking results with ease using Sherwin-Williams paint and coating. Design Depot, all in one place.
My name is Nayeli Yakab. I'm the coordinator of the Benga House of Culture Niche. Before the Belize Bank online service, I had to travel to San Ignacio because we don't have a branch, a Belize Bank branch in our community. Now with the service, I can conduct my transactions at the office, at the comfort of my home, just anywhere in the world. It has made my life much easier. I would recommend the Belize Bank digital services to everyone and anyone. It gives you back your time, it's highly reliable, it's available 24/7, and it just makes your life easier.
Welcome back. This is our third and final segment for this morning, and it's all about the benefits of chiropractic sessions. And we have joining us chiropractor Ms. Melissa Heredia, and also joining us on set is Nikita Hohenkirk, as well as Ms. Azalea Craig. And Ms. Melissa has worked with both of them as patients. Good morning to you three ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies.
It's a pleasure to have you all. I feel like my neck get tight all of a sudden. So I don't know, maybe you could help me after the set, right? But Ms. Melissa, let's talk a bit about how you got into this field, where your passion came from. Maybe give us a bit of your history.
Okay, so from a very young age, I used to like massage. On Sunday, when my parents would not take us out of Belize City, they would call me and I would jump on their back and start to massage them. And so from a very young age, I fell in love with massage. If you would come to my house to visit, you would just be close. I would be grabbing your feet and starting to massage it. Yeah. So then I decided to go away and study, which I went to Merida to study the massage. And after a couple of years, I always felt that there was something missing more than just doing the massage for the person. Even though they felt the good and the benefits of the massage, I always feel like there was a little bit more. And then I got into an injury, my hands. I could not grab my coffee cup, I could not do any movement, I could not work.
That must have been hard for somebody who uses your hands primarily.
It was, because I'm like, I went away to study the techniques, the posture of the body. What did I do wrong? So then I was in Belize and I was seeking somebody to assist me. And I went to several persons, and there was one person in particular that I went every 2 weeks for months. And the pain came, goes, until I went to Merida. and I contact back my school, and I told him, I have this injury, and they say the chiropractor is coming, so for me to go and see the chiropractor, which I did. So I went to see the chiropractor, like how you know I like to talk. I explained to them what had occurred to me, and he says, you like to push and pull things. I go, what do you mean? He says, do you move around stuff? I go, yes, I love to refurnish my house. He said, who helps you? There's nobody there, so I do it myself. He says, it's not your thumb, it's your elbow that's out of place. Wow. I'm like, but the pain radiates. And he came and he adjusted my elbow. The following day, I was like, this chiropractor killed me. I won't be able to use my hand again. Then you learn about the inflammation of the body and how the soreness occur after because of the changes that the muscles have. And from there, I never ever had pain again. I came to Belize City back again, and my hand is recuperating. I'm having movement, and I said, you know what? This is it. I'm going to go and study. Imagine how much Belizean people are suffering. My entire life and my entire career would have been ruined. I wouldn't have been able to do massage. I wouldn't have been able to assist and help people in feeling stress-free. So I said, well, let me go and study. And that's how I went and I studied.
But it would seem like sort of a natural progression to go from massage to chiropractic therapy.
It was awesome because I always felt doing the massage, there was something that was left, something that was missing. So the universe said, hey, I'm going to cause you a little injury for you to... That's a transition, and that's how I saw it.
All right, so now let's talk a bit about what chiropractic therapy helps with. You gave an example with your elbow, for example. What other cases have we seen or issues have you seen that you've been able to assist patients with? I know you have two individuals next to you, and so perhaps you could use them as examples.
Well, with Nikita, it was mostly her knees. Because Nikita does work out a lot. I always recommend them when they go to gym to get a trainer, even though it's going to be a little bit more costly. But the trainer for a while is going to posture your body properly. And Nikita had her trainer, but then she was still having issues with her knee. So then I had to come in and did her adjustment, give her stretches and exercise to do so that it can benefit and strengthen the muscle itself. And then she'll be able to use it completely and do all the techniques and exercises that she needs to do that had restricted her, because I think Nikita will tell you when she met me, she felt like she was 90 years old.
90-year-old.
Yeah. Well, because I suffer from a lot of back pain also, and so like my knees for a long time, like I just couldn't squat, right? Mel was helping me with my back pain, and I will say right now, like I barely have back pain like that. But I couldn't squat, and I've seen like multiple doctors, and it was, okay, well, you have one thing, then another thing, and then do this, and then wear a knee brace, and then ice your foot, and then heat your foot. And anyways, I told Mel one day, I was like, my knee's just killing me, right? This will sound weird, but like she takes my knee, and then my knee goes like that. And then she's like, okay, well, get up and squat now. And you remember that day when I get up and I squat, and I went down to the floor and I got back up, and there was no more pain. I literally started to cry, and then I hugged her because I was like, oh my God, I could squat now.
How painful was that process on a scale of 1 to 10?
It was just like seeing the fact that my knee went sideways. I didn't think that your body made possible. I did that without like the break, right?
Okay.
But that was weird. I would say it's just that initial going back into place, and it lasts like maybe a second, and then the pain's gone. I do acupuncture as well, and that pain is longer because like you have the needles inside of you, and like you have to like take out the pressure. Like she said, the muscle has to go back to its regular place, right? So that's more painful, I would say.
How often do you return to see Miss Melissa?
I would say at the beginning it was once a month. I wouldn't go a month without seeing her. Now I don't go 3 months, and I feel like if I go 3 months, that's pushing it. Her massage is actually very good because I fell a couple of years ago, and so my neck was like really bad. And when she does the massages, nothing is better than her taking my neck and just like crook, 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 crook. At the same time I was doing a massage. That's double pleasure. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it in your facial expressions.
It's nice, yeah, it's nice.
Now, Miss Melissa, let's jump over to Mrs. Zelia and tell us a bit about how you worked with Mrs. Zelia and what was.
Mrs. Zelia is actually my niece.
Yes,
and
correct.
She plays volleyball and she plays into sports. So there's a lot of activities that you know when you're into the practice or into the game. There's injury, there's fall, there is mobility. So if there is a restriction, your performance is not the same. So that's where I come in to adjust my niece to help her with her performance and to advance in what she's doing.
Now, for you, Azalea, was it that you were experiencing issues or you just wanted to ensure that your game was at its peak?
For me, I think like what happened was I had like very bad posture when I was bumping the ball. So I had like really bad neck pain, and when I write, like I like hunch over.
Correct.
So like I had like my whole spinal cord was just like really bad. And like it was to the point where I couldn't like bend my back or like move my neck without it hurting. So I went to her, and the first adjustment she did, like my neck was like completely normal. But you know, like the muscle, like it doesn't stay in, like it wants to go back to how it was. So, like it would always transfer back. So I would have to come see her more and more with that. And with my knees as well, like I have really bad knees and ankles. Like when I was walking up the stairs, my ankles were cracking. So I always come see her, and she readjusts my ankles and stuff like that. And to be honest, like I also go see her out of random just to make sure I'm playing good. So like I use that as an excuse, you know. That's why I'm not playing good, because I have to see her.
Well, at the end of the day, she's your aunt as well, so that's easier. I could see your auntie, but really I want you to do something for me. And is there like something you have to do as well intentionally to perhaps maintain your posture, ensure that you are doing your part?
Yeah, like the main reason why I normally would get hurt is bad technique. So I now focus on my technique and I focus on my posture more, so like the injuries aren't as severe or they don't come as frequent.
Excellent. So, Miss Melissa, let's talk a bit about how people can access your service. Where you're located, your opening hours and stuff like that.
Okay, so I'm located corner Hopkins and First Street here in Belize City, Kings Park. We work by appointments only because it's a one-to-one. When you come in, you fill out a clinical history. We ask you to come 10 minutes before time because I need to know a little history about yourself, any injuries, fracture, anything before I attend to you. And so you could contact us through our number, the 607-9051. That's the cellular number. We also have the 223 Mel's on Facebook and Instagram as well. You can feel free to contact us. If you do walk in the office, we will only take an appointment because most of the time we are already booked out, and I prefer work one-to-one and not have a crowd outside. Or sometimes you are very busy, so you have a meeting or you have something scheduled, so then that time is your time.
Who should come see you?
Who should come see me? Almost everybody from the age of 70 up.
Okay, well, that broadens the...
Yes, because I keep telling people, I mean, we keep working as a machine. We have a discomfort, we have a pain. What do? Take a little pills or just let it go until you can't take it anymore. And then you go to the doctor and you have a herniated disc, you have a degenerated disc, you have a bulge disc, and you're like, but why? You don't understand why, because you keep doing the activities that you do. People that sit in the office, they sit all day. There's a compression in the lower back. They keep drinking coffee, which one coffee a day is good for the liver, but they keep drinking a lot of coffee that dehydrates the body, and then they're just sitting and sitting and sitting. They're not getting themselves active.
So let me get some final thoughts from Ms. Nikita and Mrs. Zelia, just to kind of tell us why, or encourage people as to why they should take this therapy, but not only that, but why they should see Ms. Melissa specifically.
Well, I'm a big advocate for self-care. And if you ask Mel, she's gained like what? 1,500 clients for me, because every time I've experienced pain, and I would say a lot of people think that they're in pain and they need surgery, and they would go to a doctor, and no offense to anybody, but the doctor may not understand and then think that the surgery is the first go-to. Most times than not, it's just because something's out of place. And like she said with her thumb and her wrist, but it was her elbow out of place, and those are things that only a chiropractor or a physiotherapist would be able to tell you that I mean, I say a chiropractor and a physiotherapist all the time, and I have I call it marketing hands, right? Because it's not carpal tunnel, but I struggle a lot with my wrist and my thumb, and most of the times it's not even there. It's between back here or the shoulder. And so wearing a little wrist, what do you call it, for carpal tunnel, won't help me. But that's what the first thing a doctor will tell you.
Yeah.
And so most times you're not necessarily in pain where it's not recoverable or you have to do surgery. It's just because your body out of place. As simple as that. So I'm a big advocate for self-care, and I think it's very important. And I love cracking every single bone in my body. So Mel literally cracks all the way up here in my neck. Like you ask her, she cracked my toes, everything. If my nose could have cracked, she would have cracked that too.
Excellent.
She cracked my jaw the other day. Yeah. Shit's wild.
Yeah. Okay. And for you, Azalea, have you encouraged your friends or teammates, and why would you encourage anyone to visit your office?
I would encourage them because when you have pain or you have an injury, you can't move to your full ability. You can't do things the way you want, and you always restrict yourself. So if you go see her, she can make you back to normal. She can make you healthy, and she's also very gentle with her patients. She's that type of person, when she sees you, she'll have a conversation and she actually wants to know you. She's not just using you oh, pay me and leave. And then she's really gentle with the massage and stuff, and she always if something hurts, she'll redo it another way. She'll find another way to do it and do it for you the way that doesn't hurt you.
Excellent. Well, free massages for both of you today, right, Miss Melissa?
I agree.
Okay, I must add in that
you go ahead.
As a massage therapist, and the love that I have for massage and the chiropractic, I do a back massage if it's the neck or shoulder, or the leg if it's the leg massage with cupping, and then I do a full body chiropractic adjustment. So it's not just come in and do the adjustments and done.
All right. Well, I'm sure that after this, your flyer is plastered, your number, your location, your client list goes up. So I want to thank all three of you ladies for joining us.
Can I say something before?
You go right ahead.
Today is Chiropractic Day, actually.
Is it?
Is it the 18th?
Okay,
it was founded in 1895. So today is actually the Chiropractic Day. And currently, through the Ministry of Health, which I'm registered, I am the only female chiropractor in the country of Belize, and the only sports chiropractor in the country of Belize.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to
No, we can't
state
end
that.
without you saying that. Those are two important
You hold a certain distinction.
Yeah, you do. Excellent.
And I love what I do.
And we get that. We get that also from your patients.
Thank
that
you.
do love what you do. Well, Ms. Melissa, thank you so much.
Thank you
Ms.
too.
Nikita, Ms. Cecilia, thank you so much for joining us on set this morning.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, we're going to take a final break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap this morning's show up. Stay tuned.
Lincoln Force, and I work at UMall. 100% I will recommend Belize Bank mobile banking to everyone because it saves time, money, and gas price, because gas price is high right now. Belize Bank mobile banking just make life easier.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
All right, and welcome back. That does it for our Wednesday, September 18th show. If it's your birthday today, we'd like to say happy birthday to you. If you have any birthday shout outs, any questions, comments, requests, you could always send us an email, and our email will be right there at oie@channel5belize.com. Also, you can catch us live on Facebook every single day at Open Your Eyes BC, and for all the behind the scenes highlights, you can catch us on Instagram at OYE Belize. But again, thank you for joining us today, and be sure to join us tomorrow morning when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
But until then, be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
See you tomorrow. God bless.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by Smart, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.